Hey guys, I'm Jocelyne,
I'm Jasmine.
and we're going to be talking about the belief in the supernatural.
Okay, so we've all had our own experience with supernatural, paranormal. We're gonna tell our own personal testimonies on what we've seen or encountered in our life. So mine begins with I was sitting on our dining room table. That was me and my brother, and we were just sitting there having normal conversation. We weren't even thinking about anything weird or like anything about ghosts. And all of a sudden, there's like a shelf like across from us, and there was a little like nail clipper, and it just went flying as if someone had thrown it. And of course, we freaked out. We would like expect how we would react because it was unexpected and like unnatural. And it really freaked me out. And to this day, I can't explain it because there was nothing there to have caused it. And I don't know how to explain that part.
Okay guys, picture this. I was in my room. It was late at night. It was like 2. I was probably really sleep deprived. And I was just laying in my room. It was really dark. And all of a sudden, I felt like I couldn't move. But yet, like, my mind was still thinking. It's like my body was asleep, yet my mind was still thinking. And so all of a sudden, I just see this, like, I guess, ghost come near me. And then one day it came to the point where I started hearing, like, voices. It was, like, just repeating, "Are we there yet?" for some reason. And I was just really freaked out. And it was scary to think that I was, like, making these hallucinations, like, and I was quick to assume that it was a supernatural entity because I was like so used to thinking like, how could this be explained with like natural law? And so yeah, how many of you have ever like felt like a supernatural entity present, like nearby you? Many of you. It's pretty like. So yeah, this is like a universal concept that a lot of people can relate to.
Okay, so in simple terms, supernatural is described as a manifestation or event attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the law of nature. So anything paranormal, psychic, mystical, supernatural.
And this encompasses a wide spectrum. It could like range from like aliens to witchcraft, or all those other things that seem paranormal and can't really be explained with natural law. So yeah, it has different interpretations. Various people think that it could be one way, and others think that it has a completely different definition because of their own way of interpreting it. Okay. So, initially, the supernatural only encompassed, like, gods. That's pretty much it. But then in the 1970s, there was a New Age movement that kind of redefined what the supernatural was. It started in England, and it was, like, a reform of the Christian system because a lot of people were disillusioned with the fact that there was a lot of flaws in the system of Christianity. So they wanted to change it, and they began formulating new culture that they would implement into their religion. And so yeah, that was the New Age movement. It was just brought up a different culture and different things to add to their religion.
And then there was another movement known as the Charismatic movement, which started around the 1960s. And this was a Christian renewal movement that focused on the revival of one's own spirit. And this Charismatic movement had beliefs about healing properties or how one can heal oneself in mind, body, and soul. And they began to formulate. And it like quickly started to spread around the world, and it's just like it was for people like trying to become closer to the entity of like what they perceived as their god or their true creator of the natural world.
And both of these movements worked in conjunction to like redefine the supernatural because, like I said, at first it was just like God. But now it encompassed to like a wider spectrum. So now it's like, oh, ghosts and demons and all these other dark things that were introduced and really integrated into this word, supernatural. And so there are various like interpretations of like the origin of the supernatural. I personally believe that it's an innate attribute of the human race and that everyone believes it, no matter what. I think that it's like born with you, and it's only inhibited by a cognitive inhibitor. Jasmine.
I think that the belief in the supernatural or anything mystical, it all has to do with like one's society and like where you're raised or where you were born in. Because society has like a great influence on how you perceive certain things. So I believe it also has the ability to influence what you believe in or what you think is rational in your day-to-day life.
And there are also like many other interpretations. Like some people think it's like out of evolution. Others think that it just doesn't exist. So different people think various things.
So it all goes back to, as I was saying, like society has a lot to do with what you believe in or how you perceive certain things in your own society. And this is like a word that defines that is ethnocentrism. And that's basically, it means when an individual judges another culture by their own personal values or beliefs or ideals that they have within their own society. And they believe that their own traditions are superior to that of the other cultures in society. And so this shows that this word has a lot to do with like how society has a great influence on what you believe in and how you perceive certain things around you. And then this image right here is just kind of showing how like we're all interconnected with what we believe in. So like the same system, society, it's kind of like how we're going to reflect upon what we think. And so there are many belief systems out there like Buddhism, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, and even in like more occult, like witchcraft and all that. And there are different perceptions to these belief systems. Like some people have like the orthodox or like normal belief systems, and then there's like the unorthodox and untraditional belief systems. And this all goes back to like how, for example, like in Western culture, usually like Catholicism, Christianity, like spirituality is all like condoned by society because it's seen as something normal, something natural. That makes sense. And then there's the more like unorthodox, like believe in the witchcraft and UFOs and all that. Like people are just like, no, that's not traditional. It's not natural. It's really weird. And this is the part where like there's like it's condemned and how it affects people in society. So like a picture showing like people being ostracized or alienated due to their perspectives or beliefs. And so certain belief systems that people, like let's say these two individuals would be alienated for is like if they believe in like UFOs or like ghosts, ESP, clairvoyance, all of that, like automatically people just like it's just frowned upon. People think it's weird. Like why do you believe in that? It's just against like what we like traditionally would believe in. And again, like it's just showing how like this has the power to like mentally affect these individuals. But of course, like one may ask, like, okay, like, what does this have to do with anything? Why do I care? Like, yeah, I think that person like believes in UFOs is weird. Like, so what? But like the bigger, like this is a bigger aspect because it's like when you're condoning or condemning a certain belief or practice because it's not normal or traditional, it's wrong. Like it has the potential to decrease overall social development and like intellectual development in an individual, because you're restricting certain beliefs due to your own perspective, and it's also forcing you to have a closed mind, not being open-minded to other beliefs or other practices. And again, it's just like you can see it's a broader aspect, not just the supernatural, but this can go back to like race or sexual gender. Like everything goes back to like not believing or wanting to accept things that are seen as different just because it's just weird or unnatural to you.
Okay, so I focus more on the psychological part of the supernatural. I had two mentors, Michael Shermer and Professor Bruce Hood. Professor Bruce Hood is a British experimental psychologist, and he also believes that the belief in the supernatural is innate, that we're just born with it. He conducted an experiment in which he found that like both children and adults tend to like automatically shift their attention to the supernatural. He calls this his intuition theory, which means that they just rely on intuition rather than science or reason to like explain the unexplainable. Like for example, like our anecdotes, like when she said that she just saw a fly or something, like she automatically thought it was supernatural because there was nothing else to base it off. There was no natural law that could have explained this event. Or like me, I couldn't explain it otherwise. Like I had no idea what sleep paralysis was. So like I was just like, oh, it was a ghost. Oh, that's crazy. And I never like realized that it could have been something else like sleep paralysis. So that's basically his point, that people tend to like just rely on intuition and assume that there's a supernatural entity present because they can't explain it otherwise. And Michael Shermer believes the same. He also believes this is an innate attribute of the human race. He's the founder of the Skeptics magazine, so he has a lot of expertise in pseudoscience and like the belief in the supernatural. He also delivers TED Talks, spreading his reasoning behind the belief in the supernatural. And he basically believes that like everyone just has this tendency of believing in the supernatural. And he also corroborated the fact that it's also out of evolution that humans have evolved to begin to believe in the supernatural, because that's like a form of surviving, if that makes any sense. Like instead of someone going crazy and being like, how do I explain this? I don't know what this was made out of. Like, how did that get from here to here without anything touching it? Like it's evolution. Like people have evolved to believe in the supernatural and explain the unexplainable using supernatural entities because they can't be explained by natural law. And there are a lot of correctives to superstitious tendencies. Like there's a lot of things that try to hinder people from believing in supernatural entities, because as Jasmine said, there's like a lot of the supernatural aspect of the world that a lot of people either condemn or condone. But like the main thing that they condone is mostly like religion and institutionalized religions that like have their own Bible and everything. Yet they condemn other things like witchcraft and UFOs. So as you can see, there are many correctives. For example, the Enlightenment, which was like otherwise known as the Age of Reason, and it also gave way to the scientific revolution. It hindered the belief in the supernatural because they started introducing reason in science, and this reason in science gave people a way to explain the unexplainable, so they no longer had to really rely on the supernatural to explain what they couldn't explain. And so this was seen as a corrective to superstitious tendencies, because it kind of hindered people as they grew older and learned more about reasoning and about science. It hindered people from really believing in the supernatural, which is kind of where the cognitive inhibitor comes in, because as you grow older and as you mature, you tend to not really think about the supernatural as much. For example, let's take this. Like, usually when you're smaller, you have this, like, thing, like a teddy bear that you grow, like, an emotional connection with. And a lot of people rely on that for, like, support. And I guess they give this, like, supernatural sense because it's not really human. It's not something that can express emotion. Yet you rely on it for, like, support and comfort. And so that's just like children, but as you grow older, you start becoming more detached to it because you're not really like, you're like, no, this is crazy. Why would I really be attached to this thing that has like no emotional connection? Like, let me get a girlfriend instead. Okay, and then another thing that came to face that was a corrective to superstitious tendencies are educational system, like OCHI, because they further introduce reason and science, and they also give way to like more critical thinking, and they really want a student to like think critically, and this hinders the supernatural because instead of people just assuming certain things, they're really forced to think critically about what they're doing, and you have to like corroborate things with like different sources, and you can't really corroborate the supernatural because it's kind of more something that people make up instead of something that could really be explained by natural law, or that you could really pinpoint something and be like, oh yeah, that's the supernatural because I just saw God yesterday walking down the street. Like, that's not it. And another corrective is democracy and free speech. Although democracy is usually seen as something that like gives people freedom because it's America, a place of freedom. I feel like it more so like hinders the supernatural because people use this free speech instead of like letting people think what they want. They use this free speech to judge, and they use it to like make people think that what they're thinking is wrong. So it kind of like, let's say someone just goes up to like another person and says, oh, I saw a ghost yesterday. Another person could quickly just be like, no, you're crazy, ghosts don't even exist. And that just, it hinders the supernatural because a person has the right to say what they want, so they could just be like, no, you're wrong about the supernatural because science proves otherwise. And science is something that's like corroborated by like extensive research and experiments, and you don't have anything to corroborate your beliefs, so you're wrong and I'm right. And so yeah, these three things work in conjunction to really hinder the belief in the supernatural, which is kind of unfortunate because I think people should believe what they want.
So, in all, like, our message is to always keep an open mind about things around you, or beliefs around you, because not everything has, like, a straight explanation, or if something just seems unnatural, it's not right to just, like, automatically just shut it down.
And then, like, just keep it open because different people have various perspectives. You never know, like, if the supernatural could be real or not. Maybe it's real because certain people, it's not like people just one day woke up and be like, I just want to make up something so that people can believe me, so let's make up the supernatural. Like, no, they probably had certain reasons to make up the supernatural belief. So yeah, it's important to always keep an open mind because you never know what's the truth in this world. And as time passes by and time progresses, various people are still trying to figure out the supernatural and still trying to figure out what this world is really about and what's our place in this world. Because there are other different things and dimensions that are beyond this world and beyond our control. But yeah, just always important to keep an open